Hi, everybody. I'm Robin, and these are my reflections. And today I'm here to talk to you about the Hoodoo Tarot and this new Hoodoo Tarot workbook, Root Work, Rituals, and Divination by Tiana Lee McQuiller. This is a new book out from Tiana Lee McQuiller in this Hoodoo Tarot series. Shout out to Destiny Books for sending this to me because I didn't request this. They just sent it. And I didn't realize I even needed this book, but I did. I did because I do love the Hoodoo Tarot, and I really love this Hoodoo Tarot guidebook. And if you know, you know. And I'm gonna look through it. The reason we're talking about the deck and this book along with this is because I'm going to be talking about them in tandem because they really kind of work together in a lot of ways. But this book can also stand alone, and so we'll talk about some of that. But while I talk about this, let me show you some of these cards, so in case you're curious about the Hoodoo Tarot. Now, my story with the Hoodoo Tarot goes back some years now. I picked up my first copy of the deck it was a knockoff. I got a bad copy on Amazon. It happens sometimes. That was actually my first bad copy. I didn't even realize they had them at the time. That was my first experience with that. And when I got the deck, cards like this kind of made me nervous. They made me a little bit uncomfortable. I did not understand Hoodoo at all, and I did not have the guidebook because I had a bad copy. I had a knockoff copy, and but cards like this I loved, and I was like, oh no, I really, really, I think I like this deck, but some of these cards are really scary, and I don't understand why they need to be scary. Um, in a deck that's so beautiful. The artwork is stunning. The artwork by Caitlin Foisey, it's beautiful. Um, and I didn't understand it. I didn't have the book. But once I got the regular deck and I got the book, I started to realize that these cards really have a lot of layers of meaning to them. Everything that's placed on them is here for a reason. The things that we see that may look a little bit scary to us, or that looked a little bit scary to me, I should say, things like this, um, aren't meant to be scary. Once you get the story behind it, it kind of becomes less scary and more, I don't know, understanding it made it less scary for me. But then there were some that weren't scary, like this one, that became a little uncomfortable once I read the story, and I kind of liked the shakeup of that. But I liked having the story there to kind of support me as I was going through the deck, not having to just be nervous about some of these cards. Like this one freaked me out for a long time. I didn't need to be nervous. I could just look in the guidebook and see what it was all about, And I love that this guidebook is impressive. If you haven't, if you don't have this deck, we're going to take a look. Just look through the rest of these cards really quickly. That's the last one. So yeah, this guidebook is impressive. It's supportive, and it tells me everything that I know. It has told me everything that I know about Hoodoo. Now, I am not a practitioner of Hoodoo. I don't know anything more than what I've read in these two books and maybe heard a little bit here and there. But I did enjoy reading this book. But when I was reading through it, I did find myself wondering about some of the things. For instance, each of the cards come with a plant energy. It just tells you the plant and it doesn't tell you anything about the plant or why there's a plant there. And then, I mean, it does say why there's plant because, root work, it has to do with plants, of course, but why this plant, right? What is this plant for? There are Bible quotes and it doesn't say too much about, why. The, the, um, the major arcana has this section about further considerations, but the minors and the court cards, or what they call the people card, the house cards, right, the family cards, don't have that. And I always wish that it did. And I feel like everything that we wished this guidebook had became a reality in this book. So the Hoodoo Tarot workbook, I don't know if I would call this as much a workbook as I would call this a handbook. I think it's a very nice companion to this book. So for instance, things like those Bible quotes I was talking about. It has a section on the Bible quotes and why she chose them. Those plants I was talking about, there is a section on each plant and the benefits and uses for them within the hoodoo practice. So, and she fleshes those things out as you go along. So let's take a closer look at this book so that we can see exactly what's in it, and then I will tell you what I loved about it and what I thought could have been a little bit better. It is a soft cover satin finish, and the pages are those sort of slick magazine style pages. You could write on these pages, but I don't think you could highlight, or it would take a long time for it to dry. You do have a nice table of contents that's very clear. It tells you everything that's in the book. It does include a bibliography and an index, which becomes very useful, but also can be a little bit troublesome to use. And we'll get to that when we get to the index. I'll tell you why I thought it was a little troublesome. The introduction tells us why a Hoodoo Tarot companion. You've got a section on the philosophy of Hoodoo. And then it goes into Hoodoo's Holy Spirit, which is just some insights on Christianity and Hoodoo. There are a couple of sections in the book that go into the defense of Hoodoo and root work and divination practices using Bible quotes. So it is important to read this section and the connection between Christianity and the practice of Hoodoo. It goes into the Bible quotes. And like I said, it tells you the Bible quotes that are presented in the guidebook. So for the free man, which is the fool, the quote is, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free," John 8:32. And then it talks about why. The truth is synonymous with God. Therefore, to know the truth is to be unified with God. The truth may be interpreted as pleasant or unpleasant. The free man, however, is free because he has moved beyond the point of preference for the truth to be either. He simply accepts it. And it goes through each Bible quote that is presented for each of the major arcana, and gives those sorts of essays on short essays on why she chose. The Informed Land is about the influence of nature in the South on Hoodoo. The herbs, plants, flowers of the Hoodoo Tarot is the section I was telling you about that expands on the flowers and plants that are presented in the guidebook for each of the cards. This is a really interesting section because I like all of these sections, really. Everything in this book I think you could use without the deck or use with another deck if you just want to use it. And this one is in particular, if you know that the free man is the fool, and you can know that by just counting them out. We start with the fool and then we move on to the magician and the high priestess and so forth and so on. You can use this just as like a reference for these sorts of plants. This is another section that I feel like could really be used with any deck. This is the suggested rituals for each of the elders or the major arcana cards. It says the elders cards represent the soul's journey of self-mastery, a journey that's made easier by having clear decisions to one's destinations. However, there are times when a trip gets detoured or canceled, no matter how much we pay attention in that situation. And I don't have to tell you how disappointing, frustrating, or infuriating or scary that can be. If you already know the reason that you feel blocked, then read the ritual associated with the nature of your problem as described in the introduction to each of the elders' cards. If not, then separate the elders' cards from the rest of the deck and do a quick one-card spread asking why you feel the way you do at this point, and then perform the corresponding ritual. So for instance, let me show you one. I think I had marked one. Yeah, let's look at Miss Robinson. That's the devil card. You can tell it's marked 15. If you feel, so say for instance, you pull the devil card in your one card spread, or if you just feel this way, like if you feel heavy because of negative thoughts, people, or situations, then this ritual is for you. And they all say something like that. Like this one is the temperance card, and the prompt is if you've been asked to compromise about something and you're not sure what to do, then this ritual is for you. If you don't feel as connected to your tangible bloodline ancestors as you think you should be, then this ritual is for you. And it goes, through all of them. This is the workbook section of it. I would think there's a lot of journal work here, a lot of writing and then reviewing what you've written over a course of time, things like that. I think anybody could do any of these sorts of rituals if you were so inclined. For this one, Miss Robinson. If you feel heavy because of negative thoughts, people, or situations, then this ritual is for you. The prep work is in your journal, list all of the negative people or situations in your life. And then number two, beside each person or situation, write down the possible physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual consequences of allowing these people or situations to perpetuate. And then number three, are you ready, willing, and able to endure the consequences of remaining bound? Answer honestly, or you'll be fooling yourself. And then write your answer in your journal. Okay, so that's the prep work. And then the ritual. At noon during a waxing moon, sit outside in direct sunlight and read your responses to the questions out loud. Sit for a minute with the sun on your face and make a choice to either endure or remove the negative people and situations. If you have chosen to release them, face the sun and say it out loud. Repeat, I release them, until you feel it deep down in your soul. Let laughter or tears come if that's how you feel. And then say, I will see the right signs and hear the right voices, and I will be divinely guided to make the right choices on this matter from this point on. Repeat the affirmation until your intuition tells you to stop. If you decided to continue to reserve space in your life for the drama associated with negative people or situations, despite the possible physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual consequences, say that out loud. Then say, I accept my choice and everything that may come with it. I think these are strong rituals that anyone can do if you feel so inclined, and you can do them with any deck. Now, the what happens in the house stays in the house is the family card reflection exercises. Remember, I said when I was going through this one that the major arcana cards all have these reflections and considerations at the end, but none of the other cards did. So in this book, she added that in for just the family cards, which are the court cards, not the minor arcana, just the court cards. And so you get a section of reflection with an exercise to ask yourself for each of our court cards, our 16 court cards. And that's this section. And then this is the first spread we see. This is one of maybe 12 or 13 additional spreads that you will get that are different from the spreads that you find in this book. And if you have this book, you know that these spreads are fantastic, and all of the ones in here are additionally amazing. And each one you get a sample. Just like in the guidebook. So you get the spread and then the sample reading for each one. And then you get hoodoo rooms. This is a section about hoodoo rooms and how to set those up and what they are. This section is about, we get some divination methods. You get bibliomancy, arguary, which actually comes with a list of animals that are in the deck and some, things to pay attention to when you see those animals. You get claromancy, which is bone throwing, and this is just information about it. And then also, for instance, let's look at judicial astrology. The bone throwing section is set up the same way. You get a little bit of information on what it is and the history, and then you get several Bible quotes in defense of that type of divination. So what I mean by that is that she's researched and put here in the book 5 Bible verses that show people in the Bible practicing this type of divination. And she does it also with the claromancy. Now, the Cartomancy 102 section was a section I could have done without. And let me tell you why. This section is a continuation to the root work using the folk magic of Black America for love, money, and success cartomancy section. And there she gave the list of basic meanings for each card and the proper etiquette for playing card divination. That was the Cartomancy 101 section. This is Cartomancy 102, which continues on for that. I don't have this root workbook, so I cannot tell you how Cartomancy 101 is. I don't know if it's a couple of pages like Cartomancy 102 is in this book, or if it's like half the book. I don't know. Because this is the Hoodoo Tarot workbook, I don't know that people are going to know that they need this book to be able to read these couple of pages, but you do, because all she talks about in here are the jokers, the aces, and the suits. There's no 2 through 9, which is needed because she gives samples with cards 2 through 9. So I felt like This part could have been left out, to be honest. I don't think it was necessary. Maybe she just wanted to give a little bit more towards that other book. And if you are, if you're a fan of hers and you have all of her books, maybe this would be perfect for you. Maybe that's exactly what you were looking for to complete the section in the other book. But for me, someone who does not have that book, this section is moot. Dreams and omens was a cool section. It talks a little bit about some of the dreams and omens that you might have, what you can do. There's some more spreads here on pulling cards about your dreams. There's information about like what happens if you find these omens and what you can do to remedy them. So for instance, if you stub your right foot on the way to conducting business, that's good luck. But if you stub your left foot on the way to conducting business, that's bad luck. And the remedy is if you stubbed your left foot, then go back the way you came, say a quick prayer, and start over to reset the situation. This section I loved because my mother and grandmother and my aunts, they are always, I mean, like, don't sweep my feet, gotta spit on the broom, like all this stuff. And so like this stuff brought me right back to my childhood, like because that's my family right there. All the women in my family hollering about this stuff all the time. So that was like, I like this section a lot. All right, so this section contains 11 new tarot spreads. And if you have the Hoodoo Tarot Guidebook, you probably have already realized that this chick can write a spread. She writes spreads very well. There are lots of spreads in this book. Yeah, all of these with sample readings. So in this one, you get 11 more, and I'll show you exactly what they are in the table of contents here. You can see the names of all of them. So you get some, even just like simple 3-card spreads like the new moon and full moon spread. But then you also get bigger spreads like the difficulty ancestry spread, which is the one we're going to look at. Difficulty ancestry spread. We are all affected by the choices past generations have made. Sometimes our families still suffer from an ancestor's cruelty, selfishness, addictions, or weaknesses, even if we've never met them. This spread will help you determine the best way to move forward. And the positions are: what was the fundamental rationale for the behavior by my troubled ancestor or ancestors and how they understood it? How have the actions of my troubled ancestors affected the family the most? What is the healthiest attitude to have toward my troubled ancestors? As the embodiment of this ancestor in this space, place, and time, how may I atone for their wrongdoing and restore honor and balance to our family? How should this atonement work, look, and feel? And what will I begin to see, feel, or experience once the healing begins? I love the spread. I think it's fantastic. She gives a sample with the interpretation like she does for all of the spreads. I would probably pull a couple of cards for prompt number 5, more than just one, but overall, this is fantastic. I think all of these spreads are fantastic. And then in the end, you get your bibliography and your index, which love that there's an index, but I did say at the beginning that I wanted to tell you that there's a little bit of a hiccup with this index, and I'm going to tell you why now. So, for instance, say I wanted to look up, I marked these because I wanted to be able to tell you. All right, so say I want to look up, maybe say I pull the Ace of Sticks. I marked this one specifically because this is one I remember actually having trouble with, but there were a couple that I had an issue with. So say I wanted to look up the basil plant. I pull the Ace of Sticks. I want to look up basil. I look in the index for this book, for the workbook. Under B, there's no basil. No, there's bay laurel and bay starvine. No basil. So I looked in the front of the book and I was like, okay, well, maybe they're alphabetized. Nope, they're not alphabetized. They're in order by the actual cards. So I had to find Ace of Sticks, and I see it's called wild basil in this book. So now I look back here and I'm like, okay, so I would have to look it up by wild basil. It is in here. I did notice that. And I was like, okay, it's wild basil. But how am I to know that? By looking here, right? So that's a little bit of a hiccup, I think. If we're meant to work with them in tandem, I think it would have been easier if they would have put the same names. And it's not just one. There's a couple. Like, for instance, 2 of Sticks, comfrey, becomes wild comfrey. And if they're changing the names, that makes it difficult for me to use the index, which is in the way it's intended, right? So that was a hiccup. I did not like that at all. That annoyed me to the fullest. But There are most of them are in here properly. There's just a couple that they changed the names, but those couple, you know, that's a problem. So I think that other than those little issues, like I said, with the Cartomancy 102 and the index, I think that this book is fantastic, and it is a fantastic companion to my Hoodoo Tarot workbook, which I love and adore. So I am excited to have it along with my Hoodoo Tarot and my little collection here so that I can work with them in combination together. I was looking at this, calling it a workbook, where I'm thinking it's more of a companion, but I know that a lot of times when people are doing hoodoo work, they call it work, right? Or workings. So I'm thinking that's why she used the word workbook, but I'm not sure. Like I said, all I know about hoodoo is what I read in these two books, but I really have been enjoying using this to help me with this book and to give me more information and more work to do. So I look forward to pulling these back out come December, October. That's usually when I pull these out and really work with them. And yeah, I look forward to having this whole set to support me in that. So that's my review of the Hoodoo Tarot Guidebook and the Hoodoo Tarot Workbook. I hope that was helpful. If you have this book or if you have this deck, what do you think about this book? If you don't have the deck, what do you think about the book? Do you think you would still be able to use it in with another deck? If you've got both, let me hear it. How are you using them? How are they working for you? Let me know all the things down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, you can subscribe. I release videos every few days regarding tarot and oracle with the occasional book here and there. So stay tuned. I do have more book reviews coming. I will put in the description box below where you can pick this deck up and this book. If you so choose, they will be Amazon affiliate links. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you use those links, it does help me out a little bit and it doesn't cost you anything. So I definitely appreciate that. I will also put down there where you can see my other book reviews if you're interested. And until I see you guys next time, stay safe and be blessed. Bye bye.